Ted Lieu didn't need to raise his voice to make Kash Patel look cornered. He only needed one hearing, a few public facts, and a line of questions that got more uncomfortable with every answer. What started as a routine congressional exchange quickly turned into one of the most tense moments of the entire hearing, because instead of broad political talking points, Ted Lieu went straight to the one topic that has haunted Washington for years: Jeffrey Epstein, the missing pieces of his files, and who may still be protected by silence.
California is recognized.
Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence, correct?
I believe that happened in 2018. I think there was 2 locations, sir.
It's 2019, and in that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I don't have the catalog of evidence in front of me.
In that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I'll accept your representation.
Okay. And in that safe, the FBI found topless and lewd photographs of girls, correct?
Again, sir, I'll accept your representation. I don't know.
Thank you. It was all over the media at the time. There's a New York Times article that says Jeffrey Epstein is indicted on sex charges as discovery of nude photos is disclosed, dated July 8th, 2019. And the Times reports a trove of lewd photographs of girls was discovered in a safe inside financier Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion. Author Michael Wolff has conducted numerous interviews of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. So let's please play that clip now.
Elected. I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants. And the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing.
So Director Patel, I'm going to ask you a very broad and general question. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. There are, of course, photos showing Donald Trump together with Epstein, correct?
I don't have the entirety of the photographs, but I think they've been photographed in public together.
All right. Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No,
How do you know that?
because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
so certainly, you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to Michael
Has the FBI asked?
but the FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
So Michael
asked
has
ever.
about 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't, I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
All right, so if you could provide us an answer, that would be terrific. Sure. Well, let me ask you this question then. Have you looked at all the photos in Epstein files?
I have looked at all the information that the investigators who investigated this case have provided to run out credible leads.
And in the Epstein files, was there that creepy birthday message that Donald Trump had written to Epstein?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you. You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So Wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that. I'd like
That's
to move
literally
on.
not how it works.
I'm going to move on now and talk about Epstein's client list. You confirmed that it exists. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed earlier this year that it exists. So I just want to ask you a simple question. Is Prince Andrew on Epstein's client list?
The material related to Prince Andrew has been made public.
Is Prince Andrew on the client list?
We have released the index of names
All right,
that were in Jeffrey Epstein's.
Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list?
The index has been released, and the index will speak for
So
itself.
I'm just going to say, America, there's a huge red flag. The FBI director could not answer
Gentlemen.
whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's
Gentleman's time
client
has
list.
expired.
I
You're
yield
now
back.
recognized.
And when Lieu asked the question millions of people were already wondering, Patel didn't give the clear answer many expected. That hesitation instantly changed the mood in the room. Because this wasn't just about one name. It was about whether the FBI is truly willing to chase every lead, no matter how powerful the people involved may be. And what happened next only made the questions bigger. The hearing was already charged before Ted Lieu even started speaking. Lawmakers on both sides knew the Epstein issue wasn't going away. For years, the public has been asking the same thing. If Epstein ran such a massive network, where is all the evidence? Who knew what? And why do so many parts of the story still feel hidden? That pressure has only grown as more documents, interviews, and court records have surfaced over time. Kash Patel, now in a leadership role at the FBI, walked into that room knowing full well that transparency would be a major issue. The irony was hard to miss. Patel had built much of his public image on criticizing secrecy and promising accountability. But now, sitting under oath, he was the one being asked whether the Bureau had truly followed every lead. Ted Lieu understood that dynamic immediately. He knew this wasn't the kind of issue where vague talking points would work. So instead of making a speech, he built a trap step by step. Lieu began with something simple, the facts already known from the Epstein investigations. He asked Patel whether the FBI had searched Epstein's Manhattan residence. Patel acknowledged the search. Lieu then moved to the safe found inside the property. Again, Patel gave cautious answers, saying he didn't have the evidence catalog in front of him. But Lieu wasn't asking for obscure classified details. He was laying a foundation with information already widely reported in public. He referenced the reports that investigators had found disturbing material in Epstein's safe, including photographs. The point wasn't just the photos themselves. The point was to establish that Epstein had collected material, kept records, and potentially documented interactions with powerful people. Every answer Patel gave was measured, but each cautious response made it clearer that Lieu was taking him somewhere specific. The room could feel it. Lieu wasn't interested in scoring a quick soundbite. He was building pressure carefully, and he was doing it in a way that made Patel's uncertainty stand out even more. Then came the turning point. Ted Lieu introduced a clip involving author Michael Wolff, who has publicly claimed that Epstein showed him photographs from inside his safe. According to Wolff's account, some of those images allegedly involved Donald Trump in compromising social settings with young women whose ages were unclear. Lieu made sure the clip was played in the hearing so that the issue was on the record. This was the moment the atmosphere shifted. Not because a claim had suddenly become proven fact, but because Lieu used the clip to highlight something bigger, whether the FBI had thoroughly pursued all possible leads tied to people in Epstein's orbit. He wasn't saying the allegation was automatically true. He was asking the obvious next question. If someone made a claim this serious publicly, did the FBI follow up? Did they interview Wolff? Did they subpoena relevant materials? Did they try to verify what was being described? Those questions mattered because they went directly to investigative diligence, not political theater. Patel's response was careful, but it immediately created tension. He said he was not aware of all the specifics and repeatedly leaned on the idea that prior administrations and investigators had already handled much of the case. On paper, that might sound like a reasonable answer, but in the context of the hearing, it felt incomplete. Ted Lieu seized on that instantly. He pushed back by pointing out something important. Just because something was not previously made public does not mean it didn't exist. He referenced how new information had surfaced over time, including details that only became public years later. Liu's broader point was simple and difficult to dismiss. The Epstein story has been full of surprises, delayed revelations, and evidence that emerged long after people assumed the case was settled. So why should the public simply trust that everything important had already been found? That was the crack Lieu was trying to widen, and Patel's cautious posture only made the question feel more urgent. Lieu then turned the focus toward the Epstein estate and the possibility that additional material may still exist outside what investigators already had. This was where the exchange became especially sharp. Patel suggested that the estate was under no obligation to provide certain materials, even under subpoena, a statement that immediately drew pushback. Lieu didn't let that slide. He flatly rejected the idea that the FBI was powerless here. In one of the most intense moments of the hearing, he reminded Patel exactly what agency he leads. His message was blunt. If there are legitimate leads, the FBI has the authority and responsibility to pursue them. That moment landed because it cut through all the technical phrasing and legal caution. Lieu was voicing the frustration many viewers already felt. For years, the Epstein case has been surrounded by claims of missing evidence, surveillance footage, sealed records, and unanswered questions. Hearing an FBI director sound uncertain about what could still be obtained was not reassuring. And Lieu knew that. He pushed precisely because he understood the stakes were bigger than this one hearing. But Lieu wasn't done. After pressing Patel on evidence and follow-up, he pivoted to the issue everyone knew was coming: names. More specifically, whether certain high-profile people were connected to Epstein in ways that the public still does not fully understand. Lieu asked about Prince Andrew first, then moved to the broader question that electrified the room. He asked Patel directly whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's so-called client list. This is where the hearing reached its most explosive point. Patel did not give the clean, direct answer many expected. Instead, he referred generally to released indexes and previously disclosed material, saying the information would speak for itself. But that wasn't what Lieu had asked. Lieu had asked a straightforward question. And in high-stakes hearings, sometimes the answer matters less than the refusal to answer clearly. In that instant, the silence around specifics became the real story. To be clear, a refusal to answer is not proof of wrongdoing. That distinction matters. Public hearings are full of legal caution, institutional limits, and political strategy. But from a viewer's perspective, optics matter too. Lieu understood that better than anyone in the room. He knew that millions of people watching were less interested in procedural nuance and more interested in one basic question. Is the FBI fully committed to following every lead, no matter who it touches? Patel's unwillingness to provide a simple answer gave Lieu exactly what he needed to drive home his broader argument. This wasn't about declaring someone guilty on television. It was about exposing how many layers of uncertainty still remain in one of the biggest public trust scandals in modern history. And by forcing Patel into that uncomfortable space, Lieu made the Bureau's posture itself part of the story. That's what made this exchange so powerful. Lieu never had to rely on dramatic rhetoric. He didn't need personal insults or theatrical outrage. He simply walked Patel through the unanswered gaps in the Epstein saga and let the uncertainty speak for itself. First, he established the known facts: the raid, the safe, the documented material. Then, he raised the issue of potential evidence beyond what the public has seen. After that, he challenged whether all leads had truly been pursued. Finally, he landed on the names the public keeps asking about. It was a textbook example of how to build pressure in a hearing. Each step was designed to make the next question harder to avoid. By the time Patel was facing the Trump question, the tension had already been built. That's why the moment hit so hard. It felt less like a surprise and more like the unavoidable end point of everything Lieu had already established. The broader Epstein issue only made the moment more significant. For years, survivors and investigators have raised concerns about surveillance systems inside Epstein's properties. Reports have described hidden cameras, recording equipment, and private monitoring rooms. Allegations have circulated that guests, victims, and associates may have been recorded without their knowledge. Some footage and investigative details have emerged publicly over time, but much remains unclear. This matters because the Epstein case was never just about one man's crimes. It was about the network around him, the systems that enabled him, and the possibility that evidence existed far beyond what was initially disclosed. Lieu's questions tapped directly into that public anxiety. If Epstein documented so much of what happened inside his homes, then what else may still be out there? What was lost, destroyed, withheld, or simply never pursued aggressively enough? Those are the questions that keep this story alive, and that is why this hearing mattered far beyond one viral clip. This wasn't just another partisan clash in Washington. It was a rare moment where a lawmaker took a topic the public already cared deeply about and used the hearing format to expose how many uncertainties still remain. Ted Lieu turned what could have been a forgettable exchange into a moment that raised the temperature around transparency all over again. Kash Patel may have avoided saying anything legally reckless, but politically and publicly, the damage was already done. Because in cases like this, uncertainty is not neutral. Every vague answer adds to public suspicion. Every deflection invites more scrutiny. Every refusal to speak plainly makes people wonder what is still being protected. That's the reality Patel walked into, and Ted Lieu made sure he felt every second of it. The biggest takeaway from this hearing is not that one answer proved everything. It's that one exchange reminded people how much they still don't know. Ted Lieu forced the conversation away from generalities and back onto specifics. He made the FBI confront not just what it has done, but what it may still need to do. That is why this moment resonated so strongly. People are tired of half answers. They are tired of being told to trust institutions without being shown the work. They want clarity. They want consistency. And above all, they want the same rules applied to everyone, regardless of power, money, or political influence. Lieu understood that. Patel, for all his caution, could not fully escape it. By the end of the hearing, the issue was no longer just Epstein's past. It was the present question of whether accountability still has limits when the stakes get too high. And that may be the most uncomfortable part of all. Because if this case really has been investigated as thoroughly as officials claim, why do basic questions still create this much discomfort? Why does every new document, interview, or hearing seem to reopen doors that were supposedly closed years ago? Why do simple yes or no questions still feel impossible to answer? Ted Lieu didn't solve the Epstein mystery in one hearing, but he did something almost as important. He reminded millions of people that the story is not over just because officials want it to be. Sometimes the loudest answer in Washington is the one no one will say out loud. And in this hearing, that silence said more than any speech could. If you thought this breakdown exposed more than the headlines ever showed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with us for the next deep dive. Because when moments like this happen live and the cameras catch what others miss, we'll be here to break it all down clearly, quickly, and without the spin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.